The space opera continues. Coheed and Cambria are one of the few bands in the 2000s and beyond to make the mainstream success in the rock world while telling an ongoing progressive story, and they've done it well with accompanying graphic novels and backstories for the Amory Wars. After some time away from this ongoing saga, we now have the first of 3 parts in Vaxis Act 1, The Unheavenly Creatures. It can be somewhat daunting to be told you have to listen to an entire back catalog of albums in order to understand the depth of story in each new album. With Coheed and Cambria, though, that's really not the case. Claudio and company have set a standard for being able to create wildly engaging music to love even if you don't know the overarching story that threads through it all. It does help, though, according to Claudio, that the Vaxis series will introduce new characters and what feels like, in his words, a new mythos. So for the prog and story lovers, this is something you can jump into fresh without having to know everything about the past several albums. The story behind it really is just part of the album, as the music is what carries everything. At 15 tracks, including a prologue, Act 1 clocks in at just under 80 minutes. This is a massive amount of music to be given regardless of the content or the talent of the band. Without getting too detailed into the music, this album review is going to focus on the music overall. That being said, even I'm not going to list off every aspect of Act 1 in under 5 minutes. After the prologue track, things kick off with 2 back-to-back dynamic songs in The Dark Sentencer and Unheavenly Creatures. These are the songs that are most likely going to get all the replay value and be the most recognizable from Coheed and Cambria in 2018. Regardless of your interest in prog, this is a strong sequence of songs to start off an album. It's these 2-track sequences you should get used to because it really feels as you play through the entire album that you'll get 2 tracks of something engaging and remarkable, followed by 2 songs that are extremely generic and forgettable. It's crazy to think I would describe music from Coheed and Cambria as a bit dull, but that's how some of the songs come off in Vaxis Act 1. You'll get Black Sunday, which is a heavier and more powerful track, and Queen of the Dark, which has a great flow and is lyrically stronger. These songs connect well with each other. Then it's followed by True Ugly, Love Protocol, and The Pavilion, A Long Way Back, which have some of the most generic rhythms and riffs you can imagine. Some of it sounds like background music for movie soundtracks. If it wasn't for some additional keyboard work, it would just be static, royalty-free music. Standard drum beats, guitar hooks that sound like they were influenced by the 80s prog bands. It's music we've either heard before or it just doesn't stand out in any way. Most songs do have a different identity though, and Claudio sounds fantastic in every performance. I can't stress that enough and how great his singing is from beginning to end. There are several songs in this 15-track album where his singing is the only thing that stands out.
When the lights went out, there was no one. When the lights went out, there was no Queen of the Dark, Queen of the Dark.
As the album goes into tracks like The Gutter and All on Fire, you get more reasons to jump into it and want to turn up the volume, but then it's short-lived. Nighttime Walkers, It Walks Among Us, and Old Flames might be important for the story, but the music is underwhelming and it merely makes the listening experience feel like a drag. The lyric lines get a bit generic, as does the guitar work, and it's just status quo rock. There is definitely not a bad song on the album. There's nothing that makes you revolt when you hear it. I'll say it again that Claudio sounds magnificent with every word he sings. The overall appeal to re-listen to many of these songs just isn't there though. There are some winners, but many songs could have been scrapped completely. I love Coheed and Cambria for their unbridled creativity and fantastic delivery in their music, and that's why it kinda hurts I don't love this album more than I do. There's nothing bad about it, but for every 2 or 3 songs that are good, there's 2 that are just not worth listening to. There's a lot of dead space. Overall, Vaxis Act 1, The Unheavenly Creatures is a wild story that will add to the never-ending Amory Wars, but it leaves you wanting so much more in the music to go along with the new characters and plots. Longtime Coheed fans will be fine with this, but for people ready to jump into the space opera, you might want to go back a few light years and listen to some of the better entries from Coheed and Cambria.